terrorism, Colonel Miri. She joins us from Tel Aviv. Colonel Ison, thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And let's begin with your initial thoughts on, the strikes that happened earlier this morning between Israel and Iran. Israel saying it was responding to attacks from Iran that happened just, of course, 2 months after the ceasefire that was brokered between the two countries.
That ceasefire is a ceasefire that is held when it comes to Iran, and what has continued has been Hezbollah, that's Iran's proxy in Lebanon, firing against Israel. And they've been firing into Israel from March. They never stopped. And what Iran is doing right now, Marachi, they're protecting their proxy in Lebanon. The Lebanese president has stood up and said, Iran, don't get involved in Lebanon. The Lebanese president has spoken against Hezbollah and all of these Hezbollah attacks against Israel. And what Iran did yesterday is it fired at Israel because Israel will continue to attack Hezbollah, that Iranian proxy in Lebanon. I sit here in Tel Aviv. I'm all of an hour and a half's drive from the Lebanese border. And in that area for the last 3 months, there has not been a ceasefire. Didn't start in April. People can't go out. You can't drive down roads. You can't go because Hezbollah fires drones, missiles, mortars into northern Israel, and that has to stop. And I don't see Iran being the one protecting Lebanon. All they're doing is protecting their proxy, Hezbollah.
You're trying to say that the ceasefire really didn't hold. Like Iran has continued with, Hezbollah, that's in Lebanon, has continued with attacks on Israel despite the ceasefire, and despite the attacks by the U.S. on Iran. Iran, trying to protect its interests in Lebanon, has attacked Israel.
But that's what's interesting is when you say Iran is trying to protect their interests in Lebanon. Lebanon, a sovereign country, they have a president who's Maronite, they have a prime minister who's Sunni. Both of them have openly called for Hezbollah to disarm, for Hezbollah to stop attacking Israel. They have demanded that there should not be this army within a country. It's a terror army within a country that is backed by Iran. Lebanon, the Lebanese president, this has nothing to do with Israel, told the Iranian ambassador to leave, that Iran is not welcome there because they back Hezbollah. And yes, Hezbollah have continued to attack into Israel literally every single day, all of April, all of May. We have very nasty. And it's the ceasefire war that's happening up the Iranian ambassador to leave, that Iran is not welcome there because they back Hezbollah. And yes, Hezbollah have continued to attack into Israel literally every single day, all of April, all of May. We have very nasty senses of humor in Israel. And I say that because we call it the ceasefire war. And it's the ceasefire war that's happening up north in Israel that nobody's talking about. Nobody seems to care. It's in Israel. And I say that because it's both, it doesn't affect Tel Aviv. When Iran fires rockets at Tel Aviv, it affected Tel Aviv. But that Hezbollah firing is against cities and towns up in Israel that happen to be in the north near that border. And what Iran said is that they're firing the missiles because Israel is attacking Beirut. We are attacking Hezbollah, an illegal terror army inside Lebanon that Lebanon wants to disarm, and they have said so openly.
So, what President Donald Trump's calls for both sides to cease, with the strikes, he said both sides should stop shooting. Do you think that will have any impact on, either sides with their attacks? I know that Iran has promised more severe attacks should Israel continue, but we understand now, the attacks first came from Iran to Israel, which is responding to those airstrikes. Do you think that President Donald Trump could do anything here?
First of all, President Trump has a lot of clout and he makes a lot of statements. I'm sure you and I could follow his very interesting and I would call colorful statements. Having said that, you take notice when the United States president says something. Certainly Israel does not want an all-out front with Iran. We do not border Iran. That Islamic regime calls for our annihilation, but they are thousands of kilometers away. We have a border with Lebanon. Inside Lebanon, you have the Islamic regime, Iranian proxy, called Hezbollah. So when President Trump calls for each side to stop fighting Iran and Israel, I have no problem about that, but that will not stop Israel from protecting itself against these attacks of Hezbollah against Israel. And here that's the equation that Iran wants to bring in. And I actually think that Iran is doing so on purpose. Over the last week, the Lebanese president has done a series of sit-down interviews with international media. You should invite him. He's an interesting man. And President Aoun has said to the camera, this is the Lebanese president, that Hezbollah has to disarm, that they have to stop attacking Israel, that Iran has to stop backing them. And I say that because we look at it through the eyes of Iran, Israel. But what's happening right now has to do with the sovereign country, Lebanon. And I don't think that President Trump, in that sense, really impacts that arena enough. Israel will defend ourselves against direct attacks, which means we're going to continue to defend ourselves against Hezbollah in Lebanon. And the Lebanese understand that. It's not happy. I think it's horrible for Lebanese. When we attack Hezbollah, they're all over Lebanon. But having said that, we're very targeted against the Hezbollah capabilities. And I hope that we can really change the equation that Iran cannot protect its proxies. By the way, this morning, I was woken up by a missile that was fired by the Houthis from Yemen, another Islamic Iranian regime proxy coming out of Yemen. Why are the Houthi Yemenites and the Hezbollah Lebanese firing at Israel? Because of Iran. And Iran now is trying to protect them. I think it actually shows the weakness of Iran. And I hope that President Trump will take advantage of that, and perhaps we can arrive at an agreement. An agreement is not peace, but it's way better than where we are right now.
Indeed, and I know that the IDF has taken its orders from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and when he says, strikes will resume on Iran, he means it. His words, perhaps more stable, I would say, to President Donald Trump's words on Iran. But if we're talking about, the U.S. and Iran had tried to broker a peace deal. They're still going through negotiations right now, still haven't agreed anything. Do you think that might somehow have an effect on what's going on? Iran attacking Israel, Israel responding. Do you think that when President Trump and the Israeli Prime Minister have a conversation about this, they might agree exactly what to do about all of these players, in this conflict?
I think in the overall picture, there is broad agreement. I listened to President Trump. I'm an Israeli and I'm sitting here and we're not the 51st state and we're very Middle Eastern. And as I said before, we border. I look across the border into Lebanon, into Syria, into Jordan, into Egypt. In addition to that, we have the horrific situation of the Gaza Strip, the West Bank. We have a lot of different issues that are Israeli and are right here. And so I don't think that we see the exact same on everything. When I look outside the window, I see the challenges that are in my immediate neighborhood. But when it comes to the overall picture of a regime, the Islamic regime, building the proxies, Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen. By the way, Hezbollah in Iraq, there are a lot of different Hezbollahs over the place. And I have to say, even in the arena of West Africa, Central Africa, Hezbollah is all over the place. They're not just in Lebanon or Iraq or the Houthis. They really have exploded all over the world. And so I think that President Trump and Israel, Prime Minister Netanyahu, whoever we will have after our elections in October, are most definitely looking at the Islamic regime as a clear-cut threat to stability, not just inside the Middle East with these proxies, but in Africa, in Central South America, in Asia. They're all over the place. They destabilize. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard exports that idea. Do we agree every single time Iran attacks Israel direct and we respond, let alone the fact that we border Lebanon and the United States does not? So we're going to disagree on those kind of things, but not on the overall threat that the Islamic regime is not just for Israel and the Middle East, but really for the world.
Colonel Miri Eisen, thank you again for speaking with us on The World Today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, in a major geopolitical